Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. And so the Panasonic G85, or just pretty much the entire Panasonic Lumix line, one of the biggest things that people talk about, and it is a huge negative for a lot of people, is the fact that the autofocus is just not really good for video. It's not really reliable. Now, I have done a variety of autofocus tests before, and so if you want to see those videos, I'll be sure to leave it in the description area below. Now, whenever I did those videos, I shot everything in 4K. And so whenever you're doing things in a high resolution, the autofocus is usually going to be more difficult because of the fact that it is a high resolution. There has to be more processing involved. And so in general, I did get better results whenever I was using a lower resolution like 1080p. But I've also heard that you can try this out at 60 frames per second and your autofocus will be better. And so that's actually what I'm testing this out today. I'm going to be testing out the autofocus at 1080p, 60 frames per second. And the modes that I'm actually going to be using are the AFS, which is autofocus single, plus face and eye tracking. And then I'll also be trying out the AFF mode, which is autofocus flexible with face and eye tracking. Now, I have tried the autofocus continuous, which is AFC mode, but overall it just really wasn't as good, at least for me, versus trying AFS or AFF. So right now I am in AFS mode with face and eye tracking, and I'm going to start with the type of videos that I would normally produce, basically me talking right here and then showing products. So that's really where the autofocus comes in, when I need to show some objects going in and out of the camera or right in front of the camera. And so let's start off with something simple. So I have a controller right here, and so I'm going to put that in front of the camera, then back to my face. And I'm going to be doing this multiple times. So this is what you would normally do if you're actually doing some videos where you wanted to show products. The autofocus is very important because obviously you're showing stuff and then you want it to go back to your face. Now, I'm not going to be doing anything crazy because I normally don't do this or go in and out of the video because I'm just right here. I'm just showing products. And so that's one product. So let's try some more products to show some variation. So here's another one. So hopefully that'll focus, and I'm going to get it closer. And I will give it some time to focus, but obviously I don't want to wait like for ages for it to focus. And there's a certain point where it won't focus because it's too close because of the lens that I have. So from here, it looks like it's focusing through the screen, but I'm not sure until I actually get on the computer. And so let's try another one. And all of these are oldies but goodies. So hopefully that focuses. And this is important to me because there are definitely videos that I have where I talk about products, and I really would like to use the autofocus because otherwise I have to manually focus in on the product whenever I have it in a certain position. And so far it looks like it's working, but we'll see. If it goes back to my face, it focuses back here. And now let's try another one where I just show a box. Hopefully that focuses. And right there, back to my face. So this is pretty much a scenario where I'm talking about a product and I'm just like, hey, check this out. Get this on my affiliate link. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's how the autofocus, that's how I normally use it. So that is on the AFS mode with face and eye tracking. So let's go ahead and try this same test using the AFF mode. So now I have it set on AFF mode. So let's go ahead and do the same tests. So we're going to go ahead and try this. Back to my face. Try this again. And we'll go in and out. See if that works. Then back to my face. Okay. Then let's go ahead and try these other ones. This controller. See if that focuses. And then back to my face. Try this again. And let's go back to my face and then let's try that again. Now, obviously these tests that I'm doing, it's not a scientific test. This is just like, the type of videos I would normally do. And let's go ahead and try this. And most of the times for me, whenever I'm looking at the small screen on the Panasonic G85, it looks like it is focusing. But whenever I bring it into the computer and look at it on a big monitor, that's usually when, even though it looks like it's in focus here, it's not in focus whenever I have it on the computer. So, yes, okay. And then back to my face. And finally, with the box, So back to my face. Let's try that again. And okay. All right. So now back to my face. And so I'm going to do one final test, but this time I'm going to use the AFC or Autofocus Continuous. And I think this is the mode that most people use. So let's go ahead and try that out. And so now I have it on AFC or Autofocus Continuous mode, still face and eye tracking. And so let's go ahead and try this again. I have my controller. Go back to my face. And back to the controller. And then back to my face. One more time. Okay, looks like it's tracking. And let's try the other objects. PSP. One of the best handhelds in my opinion. Way ahead of its time. Well, the Game Gear was probably way ahead of its time, but yeah, looks like it's trying, but it's not quite focusing as well. Then back to my face, so let's go ahead and keep going. So there. And then let's try this again. And then try this again. And then finally, let's do this right here. Go back. And all right. Then we'll go back. All right, and that's the test with AFC mode. And so now I'm testing the autofocus outside vlogging, and this is the more challenging situation. So just like what I was doing indoors, I'm using the 1080p 60 frames per second with AFS mode using face and eye tracking. And so with this one, it is more challenging for most cameras to actually handle, especially with the Panasonic, because with the contrast base, it's constantly looking at the foreground, the background, looking at the contrast, seeing which one is sharper. And so I normally have a more difficult time because it's constantly hunting. And whenever you're outside, you actually have more elements when it comes to the amount of light that you get, and that affects your contrast and also all the things that are happening in the background, and you are in motion. And so hopefully with this mode, with 1080p 60 frames and AFS, it is going to be better than actually when I'm using this indoors, and definitely better than when I'm shooting this in 4K. So let's go ahead and see how this looks. Okay, so now having done all these tests, my conclusions unfortunately didn't prove out to be that this was much better in terms of getting reliable autofocus, even at a higher frames per second, using 60 frames per second at 1080p. Now for me, the most important time where I use autofocus is just right here when I'm indoors showing products. That's when I would use it the most. And when I'm outdoors, regardless of which modes that I use, I didn't really see much improvements. And for me, at least when I'm outdoors, I don't need autofocus as much. I just use manual focus pretty much 99% of the times. There's really rare cases where I would need autofocus. But when I'm indoors, I really need it more because of the type of videos I would do when I'm talking about products. And yeah, overall, unfortunately, not improve, still, at least for the video side, still disappointing, but that's really the nature of the contrast-based technology. There's really no way to get around that. And so if you were the type of person who really wanted great, reliable autofocus, then the Panasonic Lumix line still aren't the best cameras for that. But for everything else, they're excellent. You know, they give you a best value for the money in terms of features, and I really think there's a lot of positive things going for it, but it's just that one autofocus. You know, if they had really great reliable autofocus, this to me would be like the perfect line of cameras, especially for somebody who is doing YouTube videos, who's vlogging. It would just make it perfect, but unfortunately it is not the perfect camera. And so if you actually had any thoughts on this, whether you have a Panasonic camera and you are having autofocus issues like I do, or maybe you have some other cameras that you use, be sure to leave that in the comments area below. And as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hey geeks, if you are a creative geek like me and you wanted to learn how to create content on YouTube and other places on the internet, then check out my Gold Content Creators group, where you'll get access to 30 videos plus additional content for all the creative geeks out there. And the best part of it is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and sign up for my Go Content Creators group. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.